So really, it's a matter of priority. We may very well decide that, okay, we want to have a commission, we want to retain a directorate within the ministry, but we should remember that once you do that, there are also competing interests. So, it's a debate which you have, but I think it's a debate that shouldn't depart from the point of view of whether it is really important to have science and technology as part of our developmental aspirations as a people.
Thank you, Dr. Lamin. Well, that really gets the ball rolling. What else can I say? At this point, we'll just move on to our next speaker, Ceci Datsin. Ceci, can you please explain to listeners what role you think government and a ministry, we are not being definite now, we are just assuming, a separate Ministry of Science and Technology can play in addressing the advancement of science and technology?
Okay, thank you very much. Just like Dr. Lamin said, it's absolutely necessary for us to have a ministry, because it's government. I see that it's government's responsibility to provide the impetus to propel such advancement of science and technology in the nation. Why government intervention? I mean, we have several reasons. Population is increasing. The needs are increasing. So, I mean, the need for food production, better quality seeds, the need for better methods of farming, agriculture, etc., is growing. Also, the world is advancing in science and technology, and we don't want to lag behind. So basically, government should provide the propulsion for advancement in science and technology. The first thing government needs to do is to increase spending in science and technological research. Also, they have to create, like you said, create the ministry with the right personnel, and that will give the government the lead. We provide the lead for governments to move advancement of science and technology forward. I mean, if you have the right personnel in the ministry, you have the funds. What we need next to do is to set up the strategy. First of all, we have to look at creating the proper institutions. It is the responsibility of government to create the institutions, provide the infrastructure which will advance science and technology in the country. We also have to have policies which will enable government to acquire the right materials and the apparatus. Because if science and technology has to be appropriate to the grassroots, we're not talking about building an engine of nuclear here, but appropriate technology, which is essential and meaningful to the grassroots people. Then, of course, you have to look at training. It is government's responsibility to create the enabling environment for training and research. Because if you're talking about science and technology, you're talking about research. And then government also should provide take the lead in creating the relationship between the government and technical and support organizations like development banks, UNDP, UNIDO, etc., so that they will be able to help us to advance in this light.
That's a good one, Cecil. Yeah, basically what you've spoken about is like the need to maintain, to set up the right institutions, infrastructures, and providing the appropriate training, which is very good. And maybe I will add somewhere down the line, something like the legality passing act that will protect, well, when we come to discuss it in the future, apprenticeship, for instance, which has had some kind of some very negative meaning since we were growing up in Sierra Leone. But if some of these acts are passed, like health and safety at work regulations, minimum wage bills, this will go a long way to boost the population to embrace science and technology. Having said that, we'll now try to draw on the expertise of Dr. Milton Kabia from Alaska. Doctor, Sierra Leone is way behind information technology. How can the establishment of such a ministry inspire the present generation to overcome techno-dream? And for those of us who, well, maybe if we say we have overcome techno-dream, how will it help us to stop being technophobes? Dr. Kabia from Alaska.
Thank you very much for the question, and I would also like to thank Dr. Lamin and the previous speaker on their contribution to the topic. This is really significant for us to look at this as a nation, and then also from our discussion, you will find out that we all agree that it is essential for us to have a Ministry of Science and Technology, separate from the Ministry of Education. So what I think is, from my own perspective of being in the education industry for a very long time and also be in the technology industry, at the same time, I found out that when you separate the two, there will be some concerted effort, being put into one that will lead to the development on the other. They are very closely related, but we have to separate them to make sure that we actually invest enough, power on one that will actually lead to the development of the country. Your question is looking at, your question says that why is Sierra Leone behind in terms of information technology? Well, on a comparative analysis with other countries, looking at Sierra Leone being in the UN index, as you can see, we've actually moved from being the lowest to a very high, index within the UN. Sierra Leone is not actually the lowest in terms of technology. We are actually doing very well. We are developing, but we need to do more. The fact that, when I look at this is because we don't actually, have a ministry which actually look at the ins and out of information technology. We spend, little bit and pieces in trying to move the information technology in a different, aspect. We introduce department in various institutions, and then we have small businesses actually doing IT, courses like, Word and Excel, and then PowerPoint. Those are basically meant for the entry level, office assistants in a small, production environment. You may say that that's good for a developing country like Sierra Leone, but again, as you can see, other developing countries are also moving from an entry level to an intermediate, and then some of them have even gone to advanced, wherein they now get involved into application development, which can actually, increase the employment or the employability of the Sierra Leoneans and then increase the revenue of the country. If you look at Sierra Leone, we should be looking at institutional development of IT in the sense that there should be pure IT institutions, wherein people go in to learn IT, not only basic IT like A+, fixing a computer or fixing a server, but actually looking at, new technology like virtualization, storage, IP storage, wherein they can, increase their knowledge and they not only serve Sierra Leone, but other countries in West Africa as well. In addition to that, you will also look at, in terms of innovative, institutional development, we should extend this to the universities, wherein we have, specific, institutions within the university that are geared towards research to see how we can develop information technology and science in all schools. Because if you look at, most of the schools that we have, do we have any IT department in the high schools? Of course, it's difficult to have that. You may say, well, Sierra Leone is not too developed to have, IT department in the high school. But again, having an IT department in the high school is not actually going to cost us so much amount of money, because there's a lot of organizations outside that are ready to actually provide support, maybe send computers. They may be refurbished computers, but that is actually what we need for us to get a start in the high school. And then from there, we can move forward, and then vocational institution will start using them. And in that case, that will actually spread to the higher institution, wherein people actually graduate with, degrees in information technology. But again, when you look at that, how will the government actually support that? When I finish my degree in computer science, will there be any sponsorship from the government for me to go maybe to a country wherein I can learn more, for example, do a software development, and then come back and then improve my country? So those are the things that the government have to look at. Even if we may have a Ministry of Science and Technology, but will there be any support, from the government for that institution to actually develop from a rudimentary level to a very advanced level wherein it can be very profitable to the government? Again, we cannot separate all the other institutions, because an institution or a Ministry of Information and Technology will actually support almost every part of the country. You may think that it's separated from other camps. It's not. You can use an information ministry, and you can use that in the health ministry, because now we have what is known as telehealth, wherein somebody in the village can actually use technology to actually send information to a doctor in Freetown who can diagnose a particular medicine, illness, and then prescribe a medicine for that particular individual. All that can be done through technology. It might not be advanced for Sierra Leone, because other countries like India, Pakistan, Malaysia, the Philippines, they are doing those. They are actually moving towards those, because not everybody can actually do that. In addition to that, we also want to look at how we can actually make sure that Sierra Leone can move from one part of the information technology to another one. How do we do that? We have to look at cooperating with other institutions in different countries that have invested immensely in IT, and then how can we work with these people? For example, the German government. How can we work with the German government? The U.S. government. How can we work with the Chinese government, the Japanese government? Those people are ready to sponsor different countries for us to actually develop. So once we do that cooperation and then interoperability within those people, I think we can actually move Sierra Leone from where it is in terms of science and technology to a level that we can be happy with, in the long run. So that is my take on that, reason of on the topic of why Sierra Leone is behind. We're not actually behind. Actually, we are progressing, because I can remember my cousin called me from McKinney, and then I have to pay a couple of dollars for him to do an IT course. If they can do that in McKinney, I know they have that in Bo Kenima and in different. People have the innovation. It's already in them. It's just for the government to actually help us to move those people from what they are thinking and then expand to a region that can actually benefit the entire country.
Well, that was brilliant take, Dr. Kabia. Thank you very much for that. And what I gathered from that is like we have to expansion, and we have to be bold. We have to face the challenges that are posed to us by the ever-growing world of technology. We'll talk more about that, Doc. That was really an enlightenment for all of us here and listeners. But for now, we'll turn our attention to our only lady on the panel. That is Miss Kadi Mansari from London, England. Miss Mansari, how do you think science and technology and the rise of small-scale, middle-scale, and large-scale industry impact on the socio-economic and human development of the country? Ms. Mansari.
Hello, everybody, again, and thank you, Saidu. I'll follow up quite quickly with what Dr. Milton Kabia and the others have just said. The impact on the socio-economic and human development of science and technology is tremendous. It's an untapped area, and I'd like to focus more on the entrepreneurial aspect of it, which I think we haven't developed anywhere near its potential and what it could do for the country. More specifically, I went to Furby College and I studied maths. I went to the Pure and Applied Science faculty. And whilst I was there, I know the engineering students used to come up with very interesting projects, but there didn't seem to be scope to have these further developed or anything happening to them other than people having their